Hi, my name is Terry, and you're watching Terry Tells the Story. Today we're talking about why we need another pandemic. Historically, the greatest advocate for the working class has not been a politician, a union, or a strike. It has been the plague. While we view global pandemics as humanitarian disasters, they are also the only recurring events in human history that forcibly reset the balance of power between the elite and the laborer. If you want to understand why the job market is currently a desert of ghost jobs and stagnant wages, you have to understand first the economic mechanism of mass mortality. Imagine you're a peasant in the year 1348. You are a serf. That's just a fancy word for a slave who's tied to a piece of dirt. You work 14 hours a day for a lord who doesn't even know your name. There are so many poor people in Europe that you are completely replaceable. If you die, there are 10 more desperate people willing to pick up your shovel. Then the Black Death hits. It wipes out one of every 3 people in Europe. When the smoke clears, the Lord looks out over his massive fields of wheat and realizes he's in trouble. There's nobody left to pick it. Suddenly you aren't replaceable anymore. You are a rare resource. Peasants started doing something dangerous. They walked off their land to find better paying jobs. The rich were so terrified of the help having power that they passed the Statute of Laborers in 1351. It made it a crime to ask for a raise or to quit your job. They tried to use the law to freeze the world in place, but they failed. The machine had broken, and for the first time in history, the worker held the cards. This wasn't a fluke. It happened over 1,000 years before that in the Roman Empire. After the Antonine Plague hit in 165 AD, so many workers died that the emperors were forced to lower rents and forgive debts just to keep the survivors from walking away. It happened again in the 6th century with the Justinian Plague. So many people died that the value of a human being skyrocketed. This created a golden age for workers in the Islamic and Byzantine worlds. Because there were fewer people to feed, food prices dropped. Because there were fewer people to work, wages went up. Even in the 20th century, the pattern held. The 1918 Spanish flu killed more people than World War I, specifically targeting young and healthy workers. In the decade that followed, the scarcity of labor is what gave the unions the power to actually win. The 8-hour workday, child labor laws, and workplace safety didn't happen because the bosses were nice. It happened because the workforce had been so depleted that the elites couldn't afford a single day of a worker's no. If you think that this is just ancient history, look at the modern elite. In 2023, an Australian CEO named Tim Gurner stood on a stage and said exactly what the lords of 1351 were thinking. Here are his exact words. He says, "We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50% in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around." He went on to say that since the pandemic, workers had decided they didn't want to work as much. And he said, "We've got to kill that attitude. And that has to come through hurt in the economy." He was admitting that the only way for the rich to win is if you are desperate enough to be grateful for a breadcrumb. He wasn't just talking about economics. He was begging for a way to break your spirit. We saw a version of this power shift in 2021. We had the Great Resignation. We demanded work from home, $20 an hour, and for a period of time, the bosses were shaking. But look at 2026. They've spent the last 3 years fixing that. They've used fake job postings, mass layoffs, and return to office mandates to make you feel desperate again. They want to go back to 1348, where you were underpaid but too scared to quit. The system is rigged to work only when there's a surplus of desperate people. History shows us the brutal truth. The elite only treat you like a human being when the machine is too broken to run without you. So, the Spanish I'm going to be teaching you today is la mano de obra. La mano de obra. And what that means is the workforce. If you like this video or you learned something new from it, drop a like down below. If you have a specific topic that you'd like to see me cover, drop me a comment. And if you'd like to support this work that I do, there'll be a link to the Cash App in the description box below. We'll see you next time.